Okay, let's take a little trip down memory lane. Picture your old language class. Chances are there was one big non-negotiable rule, right? English only. The whole idea was to immerse you, to force your brain to operate in a new language. But what if that whole approach, the one that kind of sees a student's home language as an obstacle, is actually missing a huge opportunity? What if, instead of overcoming a barrier, we could build something incredible?
Right, let's really dive into this. The old way, well, it treats languages like they're in separate boxes. Your first language is seen as this wall, a barrier you have to scramble over to get to the new one. But this new approach, it just flips that script completely. It looks at every single language a student knows, not as a barrier, but as a bridge. It's a tool, a foundation you can use to build understanding and connect to whole new worlds. So, if we're going to build these bridges, we need to know what they're made of, right? It all comes down to two core ideas that are really starting to change the game in education: plurilingualism and pluriculturalism. Let's break them down.
Okay, first up, plurilingualism. Now, right off the bat, this is not about being perfectly fluent in 10 different languages. The key phrase here is personal repertoire. It means we value and use every linguistic tool a person has in their toolbox: their mother tongue, a dialect they speak at home, maybe just a few phrases they picked up from a friend. It's all seen as a resource you can actively use to learn and communicate. It's about using what you've already got.
And that brings us to its partner concept, pluriculturalism. Again, this is way more than just learning facts about other countries from a textbook. It's about the ability to actually participate in different cultures, to weave all those different experiences into who you are. It's not about choosing one culture over the other. It's about letting all of those perspectives make your own identity richer and more complex. I love this quote because it makes a big idea so incredibly simple. Think about it. If your family always used forks and you learn how to use chopsticks, you're not throwing away the fork, right? You're not replacing your culture. You're just adding a new skill, a new tool to your toolkit. Now you can navigate more situations and your world is just a little bit bigger. That, in a nutshell, is what pluriculturalism is all about.
Okay, theory is great, but what does this actually look like in the real world? You know, in a classroom full of kids? Let's take a look at how these bridges between languages and cultures are actually being built, brick by brick.
And believe it or not, it can all kick off with one of the most basic things you do in school, just learning how to count to 10. But with this approach, even that simple task can become something really powerful. So imagine this. Instead of a teacher just drilling numbers in Spanish, the whole dynamic shifts. The students become the teachers. A kid whose family speaks Turkish pairs up with a kid whose family speaks Greek, and they teach each other how to count. And just look at this chart. All of a sudden, the classroom isn't just a Spanish learning zone. It's a place where Dutch and Slovak and Hungarian are all equally important, equally valid.
And this is where it gets really brilliant, because that one little activity just explodes across the entire curriculum. In math class, the question might be, okay, everyone, what is tio plus ked 2? That's Greek for 2 plus Hungarian for 2. Then in gym class, they're playing a game where the teacher is shouting out numbers in all these different languages. Then in music, they're learning songs with numbers from everyone's home language. It's just seamless.
But you know, building these bridges goes way deeper than just vocabulary words and numbers. This approach is also being used to help students explore who they are, their cultural identity, in a way that really clicks. Take, for instance, a lesson on the artist Frida Kahlo. Students learned she wasn't just Mexican. Her identity was this incredible tapestry woven from Hungarian, German, indigenous Mexican, and Spanish roots. They look at her art and see how she expressed that complex, pluricultural self. And then comes the most important part. They're asked to think about their own family trees, to see their own diverse backgrounds, not as messy or complicated, but as a source of strength and creativity.
Now, these classroom examples are fantastic, but they're not just random fun activities that a teacher came up with on the fly. They're actually built on a really solid educational framework that's designed to make all of this work together.
It's called the 4Cs framework, and it's built on 4 pillars that are totally interconnected. You've got the content, the actual subject. Then there's communication, the language you use to learn. That process develops cognition, your thinking skills, and it's all wrapped in culture, an awareness of yourself and of others. Think of them like 4 gears locked together. You can't possibly turn one without making all the others move too. It's all connected.
So this all sounds really progressive.
really inclusive, and just, well, really smart. But let's be real. The million-dollar question for any educational approach is always the same. Does it actually work? Does it improve learning?
Well, if you ask the students themselves, the answer is a huge, resounding yes. A survey on these methods found that a whopping 77% of students agreed that these kinds of plurilingual activities really did help them learn the language better. By letting them use their whole brain and their whole identity, the learning just sticks. That's a big deal. So, when you put this all together, when you connect all the dots, it really points to a new way of thinking, a total redefinition of what it even means to be fluent in the world we live in today. So, why does all this matter? What's the bottom line? Well, it's an approach that tells every student that their entire personal history, their family, their culture, it all has value in the classroom. It helps them build deeper connections to every subject, not just language. It builds skills like empathy and critical thinking. They're absolutely essential today. And like we just saw with the data, it just flat out makes learning more engaging and way more effective. Which really leaves us with one final big idea to think about. For so long, we've defined fluency as the perfect mastery of one language, like building a fortress with high walls. But what if that was the wrong goal the whole time? What if true fluency isn't about building fortresses at all, but about getting really, really good at building bridges? Bridges between languages, between cultures, and between people.